done it, winning race number 1 of the Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series.
Okay, stand by the drive.
Still 1-2 for the day. It is Rover VAR.
Right up, big job,
Local fans will be happy with that.
Welcome to Gothenburg. It's lovely to have you all here. It's been a month or so since we started this campaign back home in Portsmouth. Alongside me is one of our sailing team in Matt Cornwell, and I'm Georgie Ainslie, Ben's wife. And I suppose it'd be nice to just reflect on Portsmouth to start off with, Matt, and the fact that, you know, a stunning, stunning race weekend. It came brilliant for us because we ended up winning the event. But just take us back to a month ago and what that meant to the team.
It was huge. It was a bit of a milestone, really, the whole thing happening. It was something that we'd been focusing on for a long time, you know, that first event, and you're never quite sure how you're going to match up with the other teams. And fortunately, we dominated the training. That was the first bit. And then we managed to turn that into results of the weekend. So, yeah, we couldn't have had a better start, really.
And how much did the team take from the atmosphere that was created there? I mean, there were hundreds of thousands of people, for those of you who weren't there. For those of you that were, you'll know this. But there were hundreds of thousands of people lining along Southsea watching the racing. Yeah. That must have given the boys a huge boost.
The support was fantastic. And you can't, I don't think you can put a number on that. You know, you can't underestimate how much that does lift everyone's game. And, you know, for the 5 guys on the boat, for the whole team that were there, that, you know, all the messages we're getting, all the people that are around, I mean, it meant a lot to us.
So great support there. We're in a different location now in Gothenburg. But does that somewhat take the pressure off the team? Because they're not in the full glare of home support necessarily. So that must alleviate some of the pressure.
Yeah, I think the pressure is off a lot. It's certainly off Ben. You know, he had a lot of commitments with, you know, with press and stuff like that. So there's a lot less of that now. But, you know, it lifts you up, so we'll miss that a little bit, and now we're not on home waters, so, you know, we've gained some, we've lost some. It's certainly, you know, it's good to get on the road, though, and come to another wonderful venue and do some more racing.
So it's from Portsmouth to Gothenburg we come. Jono, our sailing team manager, has been in conversation with Rob Wilson, our sailing team coach, and here are their thoughts ahead of this race weekend.
It was an important regatta for us to do well in Portsmouth. You know, it was our showcasing the team to our home crowd, and that really was the most important thing. And I know that meant a lot to the guys. This is their home waters. They wanted to put on a good show.
Ben Ainslie and crew, their first debut, and they have done it, winning race number 1 of the Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series.
Gothenburg is going to be a completely different regatta to Portsmouth. The venue is unique in itself.
The wind comes from the sort of prevailing wind direction, sort of the western area, and the course is going to be pretty small. It could be only half a mile for an upwind, which, you know, if you get 10 knots of breeze, it's pretty tight. And the boundaries are going to be very close. There's going to be a lot of boat-on-boat incidents occurring, which will make it quite spectacular to watch.
Specifically, areas that we're going to look at improving on is you can never be good enough on your crew work. You know, that is something that you can just keep working on, and we always will work on and try and get perfect, and probably will never get there. So no, I don't think there's any strong favourites or weak teams out there at the moment. Everyone's just an incredibly high standard, and yeah, maybe people are looking at us and thinking that, you know, we had a good head start on the rest of the fleet, but I'm sure they're going to catch up.
The thing you'll get to know about Jono over these World Series events is that he is never complacent, is he? I mean, the team are constantly working, pushing harder all the time. What's it been like from Portsmouth to Gothenburg? It's been a month or so.
Yeah, I mean, straight after that event, Jono was very quick to point out, we only won that event by 1 point, and it's actually cumulative points that you take to the final. You know, the boat that wins it has the most cumulative points. So we're only 1 point ahead. So, you know, it really doesn't matter that we're done. That, you know, Portsmouth is over, and we've now got to focus on Gothenburg. And he was very good at switches off from that. As soon as the champagne stopped flowing, it's like, right, back to business. The guys were back in the gym straight away, training really hard. Normally we'd have a bit of a downtime, a bit of a, not downtime, but you know, we'd ease off on the physical training a bit. But because we've only had 3 weeks to train in between the events, they were straight back on it. All of us are straight back on it.
When you say straight back on it, what does that mean? What is a typical gym session like for you guys?
We do 2 a day. We do weights in the morning, lift some heavy tin. And then we do a cardio session in the afternoon, which is sort of usually a bit of a gut buster, and it ruins your whole day because you're just dreading it. You know what's on in the afternoon, and it's horrible, really. But you know, it's getting us into good shape.
It is. In terms of the challenges that you face here as a team, Jono alluded to a couple of them there. The course here in particular, so very different to Portsmouth. Yeah,
really tight course. As Rob was saying, I mean, in some directions it's only half a mile. So it'll either be very short between the legs or it'll actually have really tight boundaries, probably a bit of both. So there'll be a lot of manoeuvres. That's why, Jono was saying the crew work is so important. There'll be so many manoeuvres that actually top crew work is probably what's going to win you the weekend.
Yesterday, for those of you who were here yesterday, the rain, it was biblical. It was unbelievable. I've never seen anything quite like it, but still the guys donned their wetsuits and they got out onto the boats and they took part in the first practice day here in Gothenburg. Here's how yesterday went.
We're really excited to be here in Gothenburg, the second series in the Vuitton America's Cup World Series. The weather is not great. It's pouring it down with rain. Portsmouth, the opening series, was great for us as the home team to come away with a win. But yeah, as the teams are developing, under no illusions of the strength of the competition, a different race course here in Gothenburg, so we've got our work cut out and we need to go out and try and perform well again.
I've been out in Rio for the Olympic test event and I managed to come away with a pretty challenging victory. I had a bit of a tricky start, but I'd love to be able to take the win from Rio and inject it into this next World Series event in Gothenburg. Obviously we had a great start in Portsmouth, and as a team we feel like we're in a pretty strong place.
Well, it's good for us to have Giles back from his holiday in Rio. He did a great job, because undoubtedly he's the favourite in the Finn class. He had a tough start to the event, and to come back, pull back through the fleet and win a real close medal race. Obviously he's a key part of our team as a tactician on the boat, and it's good to have him back with us. It's great for us to get racing again here in Gothenburg. A lot of competition out there, but we're really excited about getting on the water and getting stuck in again.
Ben's idea of a holiday is a pre-Olympic testing event in Rio. I am completely stuffed moving forward. Anyway, so Giles back in the fold, and quite a few of these America's Cup sailors, I don't necessarily know if this is well known, but quite a few of them do have Olympic campaigns to contest alongside these America's Cup campaigns. I mean, what does that do to the team dynamic? Is it quite helpful to have someone sort of duck in and duck out again?
I think it can work both ways. I mean, for us, Giles going off and doing these events is a great thing. He's actually getting more racing time than the rest of us, and as our tactician, he's race sharp the whole time. So I think it suits him really well. But we do see 2 of the other teams, their helmsmen go off and do the events, and I think that can be a little bit disruptive because they're not spending time with the team, and you need that for the development of testing the boats, testing all the equipment. So I think it can be harmful, so you've got to be careful with it.
There is some real consistency, though, isn't there, to this team? It's unchanged as from the team in Portsmouth, and they're really gelling, aren't they?
Yeah, they're really gelling. It's fantastic. And we got some more training in between the... we have a boat that's very similar to these 45s, and we did some training since Portsmouth in between there and here. And the more time they spend together, the better, really.
If you're not familiar with this AC45F boat, we're going to show you a breakdown of it now and then explain in detail why it could be pretty interesting out on these waters where this boat's concerned today. So let's just show you what the AC45F's all about.
This is the AC45F, the boat we'll be using in the Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series. It's 45 foot long, and we use these dagger foils to fly it out of the water. This fixed wing lets us go over 40 miles an hour. Let me show you around the boat. These are the hulls, made of carbon fibre, really strong but really lightweight. In an ideal world, these hulls would never touch the water, but it's what keeps us afloat when we're not foiling. This is the all-important dagger foil. The main bit of the foil is underneath me, and that's the bit that we lower into the water and pops us out of the water to get foiling at high speeds. This is the biggest power source on the boat. This is our engine, the rigid wing sail. I'm now on the bow of the boat where our other power sources sit. Our jib, which stays up the whole time, and our Code Zero that we pull up especially for downwind speed. So there you have it, our AC45F, our one design boat that will be racing in Portsmouth, Gothenburg and Bermuda later this year.
I'm never going to criticise anything for being short because of my vertically challenged stature, but this course is short. But that makes it exciting, doesn't it? Let's put a positive spin on it, Cat Flap.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it is what it is, and you know, we're in a wonderful place in Gothenburg. It's a little bit short, but it'll be fun. It'll be exciting to watch. So
what are the specific challenges that boats like this one is going to encounter on a course like that one?
Well, one of the good challenges is there's rocks, and boats and rocks don't go well together. They certainly don't connect well.
Where are the rocks?
Dotted around the race course. They do have marks around the rocks to sort of show you where they are, and we have rules which govern how we sail around them, obstructions. So yeah, they will be a feature though.
Okay, watch out for the rocks. Hopefully Giles is awake after his flight back from Rio. Okay, in terms of the people that we're going to be out there competing with today, obviously same guys as back in Portsmouth. This time, of course, Artemis, the home team, they're going to have a point to prove here, aren't they? Because they didn't fare quite so well in Portsmouth.
Yeah, they really struggled in Portsmouth. They had what we call a shocker. So they'll be certainly wanting to up their game in front of the home crowd, and they will. They've got a very, very good team, some really good sailors on board, stacks of gold medals in the Olympics. So I think we'll see them lift their game. And then, you know, obviously Oracle and Emirates Team New Zealand, they were the other sort of standout teams from Portsmouth. And I expect them to be right there in the mix alongside the Brits, of course.
Okay, so they're the other guys to be watching out for. Also, the other thing that's going to play a key factor today and over the rest of the weekend is going to be the wonderful weather. So let's get a check on that with Jess.
We're looking for the weather modes that you get in Gothenburg, so average conditions but also extremes and the likelihood of those. So we're looking at all the data we can get our hands on, measured and modelled, to get a feel for what we can expect, because then we can start getting into the headspace of Gothenburg before we even hit the ground. During the Portsmouth event we had quite an unusual weather pattern, but generally you get southwesterlies like 15 knots here in Portsmouth. But at Gothenburg, it looks like the wind is probably going to come between the south and the west quadrants, but it could be anything. It could be 5 knots, it could be 20 knots. There are a lot of rocks. It's a very small race course. It's only about 1 mile by half a mile wide. Forecasting weather is very challenging because you're predicting the future, you know, and no one knows really what the future's going to hold. So really just you're gathering all the evidence and then coming up with a likely future event. I've compiled some scenarios and we've been talking about it as a team, and that should help them sort of get into their mental headspace of the race course. And if it goes well, then it's a really good feeling. We have a tactical advantage as a team, and you know that helps us no end.
But how might it affect things this weekend? How might it affect practice today?
I think it could have a huge effect on what's going out there. We could have waves, we could have flat water. If it comes off the land, it's going to be really shifty. There's a few hills around. Today shouldn't be too bad. It's a southwesterly. So there could be a little bit of lump, but you know, it'd be whistling through the islands a bit, but it would be a bit more stable compared to what we can have. Okay,
just finally, second day of practice today. So what are the boys going to be concentrating on? When we all go out on that boat later, what should we be looking out for?
A lot of it, as we've been talking about, is the course dynamics, and they really have to get their head around how this course is going to work, and like we said, with the obstructions, with the boundaries being very tight, you know, they're just getting used to sailing in this area. I think this, you know, the team that really gets a handle on that the quickest could be, you know, looking pretty sharp out there. So.
Okay, look forward to it. Yeah. Exciting day ahead. 3, 2, 1,
and they have done it, winning race number 1 of the Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series. Okay, stand by the drive. Still 1-2 for the day.